So today I'm going to review the Sony Bravia XBR-65X900E 4K ultra high definition TV. It's Sony's 2017 model. When I was purchasing this, I couldn't find a lot of stuff out there. I mean, a couple guys were like, "Yeah, ooh, here it is," but they didn't really tell about the features. So I wanted to run through some of the features. And this is the home screen. I'm pretty sure it's like any Android TV. You got all your apps and whatnot. And I wanted to tell you guys a little more about my home theater setup too, because what I've learned is Sony does not play well with other sound systems or cable providers. And what I mean by that is they don't like Bose. I have a Bose home theater system, and I have DirecTV's 4K Genie Mini hooked up to this TV, and I noticed that right off the bat, I noticed that my 5.1 channel signal would drop and just go to a god-awful stereo signal. And the only way that I could fix the problem was to unplug the TV. That was until I learned that if you take the remote and you press the power button and just hold it, it will do a reset. And it was getting to where I had to do that probably 3 or 4 times a week, so it was just getting to be annoying. Couldn't figure out what it was. I swapped every HDMI cable. I mean, I went out and bought HDMI cables, and thinking maybe that was wrong, even though I had already bought new HDMI cables. So I went out and bought new ones again. And on my setup, I'll just tell you what my setup right now is. I have the obviously the Sony 900E. I have a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I have a Sony, the Sony 4K. It's like the UBP X800 4K ultra high def Blu-ray player. So that, and then I have obviously DirecTV, and I have it all hooked into a Bose Cinemate 120 system. I noticed that even if I went to play like a 4K Blu-ray, I had no sound. Like the sound was stereo. Actually at first I couldn't get sound, and this was running it through the through the audio return channel. Couldn't get it to work. Finally I switched to an optical cable, which seemed to work for a little bit, and then it just kept happening over and over and over again. And one of the things I want to point out before we go any further with this is I want to show you the only two, if you're buying this TV and you have multiple HDR devices, you only have 2 HDR inputs, which is 2 and 3. You have 4 total that are capable of 4K. You got your number 1 over here, 2, 3, and then 4. But only 2 and 3 are 4K HDR, 60 frames per second. And then for some reason, the engineers at Sony decided to put the audio return channel in the same exact input as one of the 4K HDRs. So if you're like me and you have multiple HDR devices, it limits you severely as to what you can do, because you've got to make a choice between what do you want to have good sound or good picture on. So I ended up having to go on Amazon, and I found a pretty decent 4K HDR HDMI switch that was fit past 60 frames per second. Actually works really good. I don't have it hooked up right now, just because I don't have a need for it at the moment. Because I actually discovered that I can hook my DirecTV up straight to my Bose system, and it'll pass through the 4K 60 frame per second signal. So I have that all hooked up to there, and then I just have my Blu-ray player and my PS4 Pro into the TV, and I'm running the optical for the sound. So now a little bit about the features. One thing I don't like about this is, yeah, all this bloatware. Like, I wish I could just get rid of all this. I only use a handful of these, so I don't like it. Just, and then like this stuff up here, yeah. But anyway, so the picture quality on this TV is phenomenal. Like, I have no qualms about the picture quality. All my issues have been with the sound and how Sony does not like. They blamed everything. I spent a total of like 8 hours on the phone with tech support with them, and they just continually blame it's the DirecTV box. It's the DirecTV box because the DirecTV box is telling the TV not to send the signal to the Bose, which is just utter nonsense. Because the DirecTV box doesn't know what sound system you have it hooked up. I think they just want you to go out and buy their stuff so that everything works with the Bravia sync. So there's a lot of technology in this TV, but they really limit your ability to use it, to set it up. Like, for instance, if you go to the inputs, you see here it's a DirecTV ready TV, but yet which means that you can get your DirecTV 4K service through it. It's still a charge, and it's still a charge, but it basically eliminates the need for a Genie Mini. So all the tech, I've talked to a lot of technicians and installers, and they all recommend against it. They say it's junk technology, whatever. So for now, we're just going with sticking with the Mini. But yeah, you get your inputs, and then you'll see you got like all this other stuff, and you can screen mirror and all that, and a lot of it doesn't apply to me because I'm using an iPhone and this is an Android TV, so the technology conflicts. So I know it's not going to. Well, it actually will display. If I can get back to the right, I'll show you the what the 4K looks like, and it is indeed passing through the 4K signal. So the picture does look phenomenal. And that is off of DirecTV's 4K channel. So yeah, so like I said, this TV is definitely a good buy. I'm glad we purchased it. I wish I'd have known more, like I said, about the HDMI setup, where the audio return channel and the 4K HDR 60 frame per second inputs were combined. Again, I don't know why they did that, what the reason. I'm sure they had some reasoning behind it, but overall it's a good TV. It's super bright. Even in the daylight, it's very clear. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing. You see there's a minimal bezel around it. I like it, especially at night. It looks like you just got a floating picture. It's really, really nice. And 4K Blu-rays look phenomenal. I read some things that said that this was not the best, if you're a gamer, this was not the best 4K TV to use, but I have had no issues on my PS4 Pro playing 4K games. And that's another thing, is right out of the box, it does not come with the HDR turned on. You actually have to go in, if you want to use, into your settings and actually turn the HDR on. If you don't go into that setting, you won't get it. There's also, you got to go in there and turn the HDR, because I know when I first hooked it up to my PlayStation 4, my PlayStation 4 said, wait a minute, you do not have an HDR TV. And I'm like, well, yes, I do. And the PlayStation 4 said, no, you don't. And so I did some digging, and yeah, you have to go into external inputs and select the enhanced 4K signal format. I'm going to tell you right now, don't use the IR blaster. It's just a pain in the keister. Bravia Sync, unless you have everything Sony, it will not work. Don't try it. If you're watching this and you have DirecTV and you're running a home theater system, try to run the audio through the home theater system, or if you have 4K pass-through, run it through the home theater system if you can. That way you won't have the problems that I had, and you won't have to sit for 8 hours on the phone with them like I did, because that just was terrible. I just kept getting passed around. I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And then you got this really I gotta get it out of there. I want to show you guys this real quick. I forgot about this. So, and you hit your little action menu thing, you get this display pops up. And if you're watching football, especially football at night, you hit that live football mode. I think it'll make everything look, have lights on, don't watch it in darkness because you'll go blind. But it actually is pretty neat. And then from here, you can actually go and and this is another thing. Each input, so HDMI 1, HDMI 2, HDMI 3, 4, everything, even the app, when you're viewing apps, every single one has a different picture mode. Like, you have to, it's not like I had an LG TV where I had a guy come in and calibrate it, and one calibration was across the board. This one, when I have the guy come out, he's actually going to have to calibrate it for not only my TV, for my DirecTV, but he's going to have to calibrate it for my 4K Blu-ray player. He's going to have to calibrate it for my PlayStation 4. And since I don't have the Apple 4K TV yet, since they're slim pickings, probably just going to have to wait. And I'll just have to use one of the other settings that he does for it. But what's neat about this, and that's what I was going, so when you come over here and you go to the picture adjustments, it's pretty neat. And I'm just going to change the picture mode real quick. You got these, this works. Actually, here, I'll just show you on, that way I don't have to, okay. So, when I come over here, I'll just turn the 4K Blu-ray player on real quick. It actually has this thing where sorry, I had to switch remotes. It will actually, see, you have to set it on one of the cinemas. So you got Cinema Home and Cinema Pro. I found the Cinema Home looks a little bit better. Come over here to Advanced Settings, and you'll see when you're watching just a regular Blu-ray. Right now it's grayed out because I've got a 4K Blu-ray in there. But you can put in a regular Blu-ray and it will upscale it to 4K, and I'll tell you what, even for just a Blu-ray, the picture is amazing. it's absolutely stunning quality on even just a Blu-ray. So it's definitely a cool feature. Again, it's one of those things, it's not out of the box. You got to turn it on. And another thing that, oh, and that's another thing, when you go from different inputs, or like even if you're watching, when you're watching the TV and you go to switch channels, sometimes this will happen because your TV has to... Oh, I had the home theater on the wrong setting. That's why it was doing it. Now we should have picture. Oh, and now it's going there. My on-demand is out right now. But you'll notice, I'll show you. So like here's the 4K channel, and then say I try to go to like ESPN. In 1882. You'll have this black, 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 black.
Does he turn everything to gold?
Not everything.
And then that's when the picture will come. So that the TV can like scale down back to 1080p and get ready for it. See if you go up a channel, it doesn't take quite as long. But yeah, when you go to a 4K, so anyway, if you have any questions about this, let me know, because like I said, I tried to find information about this, and there's just not a lot. A lot of guys just went, oh, look how pretty it is, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't actually tell us about the features of it. And if they did, it was very minimal. It's like I said, it's definitely a great buy. It's very aesthetically pleasing. I love it. My wife loves it. Our son thinks that he's in a movie theater every time we watch the TV. So, anyway, let me know if you have any questions.